The job market may be tough out there right now, but the demand for trade workers is on the rise. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are roughly 400,000 skilled trade jobs available here in the U.S.
In 1970, a single skilled trade job could buy you a house, raise a family, and still leave room to breathe. You didn't need a college degree. You didn't need connections. You needed a skill and the willingness to work. Back then, nearly 1 in 4 American workers earned a living in manufacturing or construction. Today, that number is closer to 1 in 10. And while America still depends on skilled labor to function, the people who do that work are quietly being priced out of the very economy they helped build. This is the story of how that happened.
37.9 million. That's the number of Americans currently living in poverty, accounting for 11.6% of the total population. That's despite the fact that America ranks first as the richest nation in the world in terms of GDP.
The United States is known for having this great abundance, and at the same time, alongside that abundance, there is widespread poverty and economic insecurity.
For most of the 20th century, traditional trades weren't a backup plan. They were the plan. Cobblers kept towns moving. Tailors dressed entire communities. Masons and carpenters shaped skylines, one brick and beam at a time. These weren't romantic jobs, they were respected ones. They paid enough to live with dignity. After World War II, the U.S. entered an industrial boom unlike anything the world had seen. Manufacturing, construction, and skilled trades powered the middle class. In the 1950s and 60s, a high school graduate with a trade could earn wages comparable to those of many white-collar workers. Benefits were common. Job security was expected. Communities were built around the people who made things. By the year 2000, American manufacturing employment peaked at 17.2 million jobs. Then the ground started shifting. Globalization accelerated. Factories moved overseas. Automation replaced tasks that once required years of hands-on skill. Between 2000 and 2017, the U.S. lost nearly 5.7 million manufacturing jobs. Not because Americans stopped needing goods, but because fewer Americans were needed to produce them. And something else happened at the same time. Something quieter, but just as damaging. Trade stopped being sold as a future. Schools pushed college as the only path to success. Apprenticeships faded. Shop classes disappeared. A generation was told that working with your hands meant you'd failed to work with your head. By the time the economy realized it still needed skilled labor, the pipeline was already broken. Today, America faces a paradox. There is a massive shortage of skilled workers, and yet millions of people believe those jobs no longer pay. That contradiction sits at the heart of this story. Because the truth isn't that honest work disappeared. It's that the economics around it changed, and most people never noticed until it was too late. By the early 2010s, something strange started happening across America. Employers couldn't find workers. Construction firms complained they couldn't hire masons, electricians, or carpenters. Tailor shops closed not because of low demand, but because no one was left to take over the craft. Shoe repair shops vanished from downtowns. Manufacturing executives warned of a skills gap. Trade associations sounded the alarm. In a normal market, that should have meant one thing: higher pay. But for millions of skilled workers, it didn't. Between 2000 and 2020, productivity in the U.S. economy rose by more than 60%, yet median wages barely moved when adjusted for inflation. In construction and many traditional trades, real wages grew slowly, and in some regions, not at all. The cost of housing, healthcare, and education surged ahead, while the value of skilled labor lagged. So what went wrong? First, the nature of work changed. Many trade jobs became fragmented. Instead of long-term employment with benefits, more workers were pushed into subcontracting, gig-style arrangements, or short-term projects. That shifted risk from companies onto individuals. You might still earn decent hourly pay, but without health insurance, retirement contributions, or predictable hours, the math stopped working. Second, consolidation hollowed out bargaining power. Small local shops were replaced by national chains and mega contractors. Where a cobbler once owned his store and set his prices, repair services were either outsourced, automated, or eliminated. Where unionized trades once negotiated collectively, many workers now negotiate alone. Third, and this is crucial, pricing power disappeared. Consumers still want homes built, roads repaired, and systems maintained, but they've also been trained to expect low prices and instant service. When a handcrafted service competes with mass production or overseas labor, the market rewards speed and scale, not skill. That's why the labor shortage didn't save traditional trades. Instead of wages rising enough to attract new workers, businesses responded by cutting requirements, rushing training, or relying on temporary labor. In some cases, quality declined. In others, burnout skyrocketed. Older tradespeople stayed longer because they had to, not because they wanted to. Meanwhile, young workers watched from the sidelines. They saw physically demanding jobs with unpredictable income. They saw little room for upward mobility. They saw peers with college degrees struggling too, but at least with perceived social status and flexibility. So they chose differently. By 2023, the average age of a skilled trades worker in the US was over 42 years old, and climbing. In some specialties, nearly 1/3 of workers were over 55. The pipeline problem became a ticking clock. America didn't lose its need for skilled labor. It lost the system that made skill financially sustainable. While honest work still matters today, is the modern economy willing to pay for it anymore? Here's the uncomfortable truth most discussions avoid. Honest work didn't stop being valuable. The economy just stopped rewarding it fairly. Trades didn't become obsolete. America just abandoned them because the system learned how to extract the value of skilled labor without sharing the upside. Take construction. According to federal data, the U.S. needs hundreds of thousands of additional skilled trade workers over the next decade just to keep up with infrastructure repairs, housing demand, and energy projects. Electricians, plumbers, masons, and HVAC technicians are not optional. They are essential. And yet, many of these workers still struggle to afford the very homes they help build. Why? Because costs rose faster than compensation. Health insurance shifted from employers to individuals. Housing became an asset class rather than a shelter. Education debt exploded. Meanwhile, wages, even for skilled labor, were squeezed by outsourcing, consolidation, and relentless price competition. The result is a quiet contradiction. Work that society cannot function without is treated as disposable, and young people see it. Surveys show Gen Z and younger millennials are afraid of being trapped. They watch their parents grind physically demanding jobs only to retire late, injured, or financially insecure. They saw loyalty rewarded with layoffs, skill rewarded with stagnation, so they pivoted. Some moved into tech, others chased content, digital services, or location-independent income. Not because it was easier, but because the upside was clearer. The system signaled where rewards flowed and people followed. But here's the part few people want to admit. The trades lost leverage. In the past, a master craftsman owned his tools, his schedule, and his pricing. Today, many skilled workers operate inside systems they don't control. They follow corporate rate cards, they answer to platforms, they compete with cheaper bids in a race that has nothing to do with quality. That doesn't mean honest work is dead. It means the old promise is. The promise that if you show up, master your craft, and work hard, stability will follow. That promise broke somewhere along the way. And once a generation realizes a promise is broken, they walk away. Now the system is panicking. Governments push return to trades campaigns, companies offer signing bonuses, schools reopen vocational programs. Everyone wants the skills back, but few are willing to rebuild the conditions that made those skills sustainable in the first place. Because that would mean higher prices, stronger labor power, slower, more human-scale systems. And that's the real conflict. America doesn't lack workers willing to do honest work. It lacks an economy willing to pay for it. The question isn't whether trades can come back. They can, and they will, because reality demands them. The real question is harsher. Will the next generation rebuild honest work on their terms, or will the system keep asking for sacrifice without security? That answer will define the future of work in America.